Yeah, the lineup this year is absolutely amazing. I think, you know, when you look at what's happening on the main stage, you know, from your Paramours to your Queens of the Stone Ages, you know, your real perennial hardcore rock bands, to looking down who's on the dance stage, from, you know, the likes of Wilkinson, etc., to the One Extra stage where I am. You know, there's lots of really good new artists, like I say, Sinead Harnett, Quabs, you know, loads of really good artists. I think that this year's a very good lineup for both Reading and Leeds. Do you know what, we planned for everybody to come in, but just to perform their own tracks. You know, we've been doing 60 minutes for a long time. Before that it was the Daily Dose Live, and the idea is that I'll mix for an hour and artists will come in and perform their tracks during the mix. And, you know, it all started off quite civilised with, you know, Blonde and Charlie Taft coming in, and then Professor Green and Tarbo coming in. But then when Bizzle and JME and Temper T came in, they wouldn't leave. And then Dizzy turned up to come and do his thing, but because everybody else was already in the studio, he came and jumped in, and just seeing the amount of energy was just like, we couldn't have planned it. If we had planned it, it probably wouldn't have worked. We probably wouldn't have been able to get all of them in the studio together to do what all of them were doing together, to get General Levy there to perform with those guys. You know, we got General Levy there to perform his new tune, but the fact that he was there with those guys, he felt the vibe and just joined in, so it was amazing. We could never do it again. I think really good question. I think it's the biggest challenge that I can see, especially with up-and-coming DJs, is about identity. You know, do you want to go down the route of being a DJ producer? And if so, you've got to make your name as a producer before you can really make your name as a DJ. If you're going to go down the route as being a DJ, how are you going to be different to the 7,000 of the DJs that are illegally downloading tracks? They've downloaded, you know, virtual DJ, and they think that they can go and kill any club by playing the same set list that they've seen X, Y or Z big name DJ do. You know, I think it's probably harder than ever to break through as a DJ, but I think we're in a time where if you can practice, you know your art, you know your craft, and you know which way to go in terms of being in front of a crowd, in terms of the records to play, then the world is your oyster. Whereas there's a lot of people in it that are maybe in it to try and get girls and earn a bit of money. They're not going to be here in 4 years' time. If you've got a true passion for it, you will be. Yeah, the biggest tip is to just be the master of your craft. Genuinely, you know, the hours that you spent practicing are hours that are going to be invaluable to you 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the line. You need to know what you're doing, know the pieces of equipment that you're using, know your music. You know, if you're a writer, if you're a singer, the hours that you spend writing, you don't know. You might never sing that record and make that record a hit for yourself, but you might become a very successful writer for other people. The more you practice, the more hours you put in, the better you're going to be. Well, whenever you're doing a compilation with a major label, it's always a compromise. It's always, from their point of view, what can you do that's going to sell units but isn't a compromise in integrity for you. So for this current album, it was a case of looking at the records that I was early on, the artists that I was supporting at day zero of their career, the stuff that I've helped to bring through that have since become big hits. And for the compilation, it was about putting together those big tunes that I thought were big tunes but had since become big hits, so therefore they could go on the Big Beats compilation. At the last minute, there were some kind of changes at the label that meant that what we were going to do to promote the album and the way that we were going to push the album out, we ended up not doing. But, you know, I'm very happy with, you know, you look at that track listing, you know, from the Iggy Azalea record, and, you know, people say she's the most pop of pop artists. When I was first playing her and when I first played that record, it wasn't a pop record, it was a hip-hop record coming from a very credible place with the most credible of cosigns that then turned into a massive pop record. So, you know, it's for me, the process of this album has probably been much different to the next album that I'll do or any other compilations that I have done in the past, but that's where we were going with it. I think my biggest goal is to kind of, when I think of the DJs and people that I truly look up to, whether it be, you know, like your Pete Tongs or your Trevor Nelsons or your David Rodigans, is to kind of be here in 15, 20, 25 years time and still be as relevant as I am now, and just have that long-term career. You know, I'd love to be the 65-year-old on stage still giving it some in the same way that Rodigan is.